Today with this grandmother, you will learn about how to improve communication and understanding in relationships. If you want to discover the best advice a grandmother could give you, stay until the end of the video. If you enjoy this type of video, don't forget to subscribe to the channel so you won't miss more videos like this. If you enjoy this type of video, don't forget to subscribe to the channel so you won't miss more videos like this. Because at the end of the road, what really matters is not how much time you spent with someone, but how they made you feel and how they made them feel. That is the true richness of life. Another important lesson I want to share is about the power of second chances. Throughout life, we all make mistakes, whether out of pride, ignorance, or simply because we are human. The bad thing about not giving or accepting second chances is that you miss out on the chance to fix what was broken and learn from your mistakes. Of course, a second chance doesn't mean ignoring what happened, but rather working together to repair the damage and grow as people. I remember an old friend of mine who, after a big argument with his wife, went months without speaking openly to her. He entrenched himself in his pride, waiting for her to make the first move. When they finally sat down to talk, they discovered that they both wanted to reconcile, but neither knew how to start. Wasting valuable time by not talking is a hard lesson to learn. That's why I tell you, if you love someone, don't let pride be bigger than your feelings. There is always a time to reach out and say, "Can we try again?" Also, I want to talk about the balance between giving and receiving in a relationship. The bad thing about giving everything without expecting anything in return is that you can end up exhausted, feeling empty and without the strength to continue. But it is also harmful to constantly expect to receive without giving anything. Love should be a constant exchange of energy where both feel valued and supported. If you feel like you are giving too much and receiving little, it is time to have an honest conversation with your partner. Now, a piece of advice for men in particular: don't be afraid to show yourself vulnerable. Many times, men are brought up to hide their emotions, to be strong at all times. But the bad thing about repressing your feelings is that you end up disconnecting not only from yourself but also from others. Vulnerability is not a weakness. It is a form of connection. Talking about your fears, your insecurities, or your dreams not only frees you, but also allows the other person to get closer to you. Speaking of this, I remember a neighbor who lost his wife after years of marriage. He confessed to me that one of the things he regretted most was not having told her how much he needed her when she was alive. He had always wanted to appear strong and self-sufficient, but then he understood that showing his emotional dependence did not make him less of a man, but more human. Since then, I have repeated this advice to all the young men I know. Never pass up the opportunity to say how you feel, because those words can change everything. Another important reflection is about the cycles in a relationship. The bad thing about expecting everything to always be exciting and perfect is that you get disillusioned when the routine moments come. But routine is not the enemy. In fact, it can be the place where true love grows. Learning to find beauty in the small moments, like cooking together, walking in silence, or simply sharing a coffee, is what really keeps the connection alive. Finally, I want to talk about forgiveness, not only towards others but towards yourself. The bad thing about carrying guilt or resentment is that it robs you of peace. Learn to forgive yourself for past mistakes and see them as lessons. And if someone has hurt you, remember that forgiveness is not always for them, but for you. Letting go of resentment allows you to move forward, lighter and more at peace with yourself. So, dear reader, always remember that life is a work in progress. Relationships, like everything valuable, require work, patience, and constant care. Do not be afraid to learn, change, and grow, because therein lies the true richness of life. If you want to discover the best advice a grandmother could give you, stay until the end of the video. If you enjoy this type of video, don't forget to subscribe to the channel so you won't miss more videos like this. And if you ever feel lost, remember that you can always return to these words and find a small beacon in the storm. May life fill you with love, understanding, and wisdom. And never forget that everything worthwhile requires effort, but the result will always be beautiful. It's important to understand that in relationships there won't always be consensus, and that's okay. The bad thing about expecting people to always think and feel the same way as you is that it creates an unrealistic expectation. Differences of opinion, disagreements, and even small fights are part of any relationship. But what really matters is how you handle those disagreements. The couples that have lasted, the ones that have really managed to build a life together, are those who know how to navigate differences with respect and understanding, instead of letting them turn into a war of egos. I remember one time when my husband and I had an argument over a trivial issue, or at least at the time it seemed trivial. We were organizing a birthday party for our daughter, and we couldn't agree on the decorations. I wanted something simpler, while he imagined something much more elaborate. The tension grew so much that we almost gave in to the stress, completely forgetting the purpose of the celebration: to make our daughter feel special. It was at that moment that I learned that the essence of a relationship is not winning an argument, but finding a solution that makes both of you happy. Sometimes compromising is the answer, and other times, letting go of the need to be right is also a way to win. It's a lesson that men and everyone in general should learn. It's not about being the one who has the last word, but the one who knows when to shut up and listen. There are many times that the greatest act of love you can do is simply listening without interrupting, without trying to correct, but just being present. This, although it sounds simple, has immense power. The power of empathy is another fundamental issue in any relationship. The bad thing about not practicing it is that we end up living in a world isolated from others, without understanding their struggles or feelings. That's why I've learned over the years that empathy is not only understanding how the other person feels, but also being able to share their emotions, to put yourself in their shoes and feel what they feel. This kind of deep connection is the basis for building long-lasting relationships. My late mother used to tell me that love is not just a feeling but an action. It is more than the nice words and romantic gestures. It is the daily care, the small attentions, and sometimes the ability to put yourself in the other's shoes in the most difficult moments. She never stopped taking care of my father, even when he could no longer take care of himself. That care was not just physical but emotional. She stayed by his side, talked to him, asked him how he felt, and made him feel heard. That, my dear, is what makes love so long-lasting. The commitment to be there in good times and bad, to care for and nurture the relationship every day. Another aspect that I consider important is the ability to adapt. The bad thing about clinging to the idea that everything should stay the same is that you miss out on the wonderful changes and opportunities that life offers. People change, times change, circumstances change, and if we are not able to adapt, we risk being left behind. In relationships, this is even more crucial. As you spend time with someone, the relationship evolves, and what united you at the beginning, what made you fall in love, will no longer be the only thing that sustains the relationship. It is not about remaining static, but about evolving together, continuing to learn, share, and adapt to the new stages of life. I remember when my children grew up and left home. That transition was difficult for me, but also for my husband. We had been a team raising our little ones, and suddenly the dynamic changed. It was a time of adaptation, of adjusting our expectations and our routines. During that period, we realized how important it is to continue nurturing the relationship between us, even when the children were no longer under our roof. It was a new beginning, an opportunity to reconnect as a couple after so many years of being parents. In these moments, I understood that relationships are not something that are achieved once and then left aside. They are a continuous work, a daily construction, like a garden that needs to be watered, cared for, and pruned for it to flourish. No matter how many years you've been with your partner, there's always room for growth and renewal. Give the video a like if you enjoyed it, and subscribe to the channel to see more content like this. Leave a comment to share your opinion, and we'll take it into account for future videos.